Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. My name is Andrew Townsend. I'm the Campaign Marketing Manager here at eLearning Brothers. Today we're going to be talking about the new world of live events, learning in a pandemic with VR. So this is going to be a really cool, interesting topic as everybody is adjusting and finding our new normal. This session will be recorded and we will email a copy of the session out to everybody who has registered, so you'll be able to view that at your leisure at a later date. We'll also likely be posting this on our blog, so please do visit blog.elearningbrothers.com and you can share this with your coworkers or friends, people that may find this interesting. You'll also find many of our previous webinars on blog.elearningbrothers.com, so you can go ahead and find that archive there. If you have questions or comments during the webinar, please do use the questions panel. That is a part of the GoToWebinar control panel there on the side. We'll get to as many of your questions as we can. We have a slew of people also in the wings that are going to be answering questions there, and we'll also bring some of the questions to our presenters. Speaking of our presenters, we have some fantastic ones today. We've got Ellen Getz, Associate Director of Development and Community Engagement for the Center for Information and Study on Clinical Research Participation, or CISCRP for short, and Michael Getz, President and Founder of Illumina Interactive. We've also got John Blackman, the CTO for eLearning Brothers here, and the brain behind CenarioVR. So we'll be getting some opportunity to speak with him as well. So thanks everybody for joining us. Hopefully everything goes fine. We've had a couple glitches due to internet issues and possibly some GoToWebinar problems, but we should be smooth moving forward. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the screen over to Ellen and Michael.
Great, thank you, Andrew.
Great.
Are you able to see our screen?
Yeah, Ellen, can you go back to the very first screen? Great.
Great, looks great.
All right. I'll kick this off. Thanks, Andrew, and hello. I'm Michael Getz. I'm the President and Founder of Illumina Interactive. We're a custom e-learning design and development studio just outside of Boston. As a services firm, we work with a really wide range of organizations, from leading corporations to government agencies and nonprofits and academic institutions. So personally, I've been working in the field of instructional technologies for over 35 years. My own background is in creative design and programming and technical implementation of e-learning and blended learning solutions. And besides my role at Illumina in business development, I'm very active in overseeing the creative and technical aspects of new projects, and as such I've been very involved in this particular project. So before I turn things over to Ellen, I'd like to go over the topics that we'll be covering in this session. And it's going a little slow. Okay, here we go. As the page loads, I'll just say we're first going to give you a little background information about the need for an application like the one that we created, how we came to select CenarioVR as the development tool. We'll then look at the finished product and then go over some of the behind the scenes stuff around how we produced it. Finally, we're going to go over the results and feedback that CISCRP has received so far, and then we'll talk about how we're enhancing the application in the next phase that we've already started. So I'd like to turn it over to my niece, Ellen Getz, as Andrew mentioned, the Associate Director of Development and Community Engagement for the Center for Information and Study on Clinical Research Participation, CISCRP.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. Hi, everybody. Very excited to be here today. I'm Ellen Getz, and it's such a privilege to be able to work on this new program and to share some of our experiences and our key learnings. Just a little bit of background about CISCRP. We're a nonprofit organization, and we provide education about clinical research to patients and the public. I've been working at CISCRP for the past 8 years, and I've been very excited about these new opportunities, especially around this current time frame, new virtual experiences that we're trying to utilize to make information as accessible as possible to patients. Our flagship initiative is a grassroots campaign to increase public clinical research literacy around the world, and that's our Aware for All program. And we bring this event, typically we bring this event to cities around the world. The reason why we focus on a particular city is to instill a sense of pride around city-specific research activity and research institutions, as well as the community members who take part in clinical trials. And we work to really engage and dedicate resources to work with diverse, underserved populations in each of these communities. We've developed support from a number of pharmaceutical and biotech companies for a national kind of level of support, but we also work with local research teams and patient advocacy organizations to bring these live educational programs to their cities. And over the next 5 years, we'll be hosting 25 events and 5 events per year. But we see this as more than just the campaign itself. It's also, and more than just the event. Excuse me, it's much more than just the event. It's the campaign. It's the opportunity to engage with communities around the cities. We get to share educational information. We're not trying to recruit for studies, but we want people to feel empowered to make informed decisions about participation. So we capture engagement metrics. We try to engage with over 2 to 4 million people in every city that we go to throughout this entire campaign. So as I advance and load the next slide, and it might just take a minute to load here. Here we go. Here's some, I think it's starting to load now. These are some pictures of events where you can really see the community members participating, asking questions throughout the live health fair experience. They might take part in health screenings, as well as ask specific research teams and organizations a little bit more about their programs, their educational tools, and their resources. And we really wanted to capture this year, but as we were monitoring the current situation, we were very concerned about bringing around 250 to 350 people together that may be immunocompromised and interested in learning about particular medical conditions. So I approached Michael and his team, and we'd worked with Illumina Interactive on a number of educational modules in the past. So I reached out to him and asked if there was anything we could do to make this a virtual health fair experience and where we could add in a webinar as well. And Michael was very excited by this opportunity and also had some amazing ideas very quickly with seeing the full potential of the CenarioVR platform. And he really helped us work through this where now, and we'll share the results shortly, but we are so thrilled and delighted with this very innovative approach. So I'll turn it over to Michael to talk a little bit more about what we did. And I think the slide is loading right now for the goals and selection of CenarioVR.
Yeah, so we had actually become aware of CenarioVR back in late 2018, and we developed a number of internal prototypes and proof of concept applications. And we knew there was a lot of potential for creating really immersive VR experiences with it. So as we talked with Ellen and her team about Syscript's needs, we recognized that a lot of the requirements matched very well. And so first, we wanted to be able to launch a week before the live webinar, which gave us only about 5 weeks from conception to launch, including prototyping and defining the requirements and all the specifications and working with the exhibitors to gather all their materials and all of the production and all of the testing. And so, we really needed a rapid development, a rapid prototyping and development tool. So with the circumstances around the pandemic, we decided against producing any custom video, but we thought that we could invite exhibitors to submit their own existing videos or to shoot, any videos that they wanted on their own, even with smartphones. And so we knew we weren't going to be able to shoot in actual exhibit spaces. There wasn't a budget for any 3D CGI graphics. So we also knew that the audience would be primarily using desktops, laptops, tablets, and smartphones, most likely not VR headsets right off the bat. So we needed a real robust multi-platform tool that didn't require custom programming, given the time constraints. We also decided, given the tight timeline, to keep the first release simple and then to explore ways to enhance it over time. So Ellen, why don't we switch over to the actual, or actually go to the next slide first.
All right, hold on one sec. That's all right.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide first, because I'll just talk quickly about how.
Sure, I think it's loading.
There we go. Okay.
Here we go.
Right. So we'll take a look at the end result now. So this is the main landing page on the Syscript website, where users can register both for the live webinar, and as you can see at the bottom, The button says, watch the webinar recording because it's now past the event. And then there's also a button to the right of that to visit the virtual health fair. And if you look on the SysGroup website now, you'll see that there's listing also for the other virtual events that we've got planned, based on the same model here. And then clicking, click next, Ellen. Okay, so once you click on that, access the virtual exhibit hall, it brings up a little bit more information and also has a form where users fill out, and it allows them to get right into the exhibit fair. So now, Ellen, let's open up the actual end application, and I'll just talk a little bit about this.
Sure.
So, and if you could bring that over and then maximize that. So we start out. So we start out in the lobby, and we are having some technical difficulties here. And Ellen and I are both in two different locations, but for some reason, our connections are really slower today. So the users are presented in this lobby with a banner that exhibits all the different supporters and sponsors, and then a welcome message. They have a navigation bar at the very bottom of the screen that will allow them to click on and view an exhibit hall map, or go to the theater, or view information about Aware. They can turn on and off sound, and then they can view help. Ellen, just quickly click on the help button. Yeah, actually with the delay, just click on the exhibit hall map, and I'll talk about that. Yeah, so that's the help screen. We can actually send a link to everybody of the actual fair, so you can experience this on your own afterwards and just see it's very smooth moving, and apologize for the issues here. Click close, and then let's go to the exhibit hall map.
Yep. We just
so right. Yes. Yeah.
Here we go.
Exhibit hall map shows all the rooms, which are named for prominent neighborhoods and sites in Chicago, and all the sponsors and exhibitors in each room. And Ellen, let's go to the Humboldt Park room.
Sure.
And in the Humboldt Park room, we have the booths for Merck and Susan G. Komen of Chicago, and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation.
I think maybe I'll hang on the Merck booth right here as it just loads. Okay. I think it's about a 10-second delay.
Yeah.
Almost like the whole world went digital on the same day.
I know. Yeah.
This is so
yeah,
strange.
it's so strange that it's delayed as it is right now.
I would consider turning off your cameras. That's using a bandwidth that you would use,
Sure.
use otherwise.
Maybe Michael, I can try to see if something's going on my end. We can continue with the slides.
Yeah, let me just see. Okay, so let's take a look at how we put the application together. So we tapped into a lot of royalty-free stock photos. You can click on the next slide, including eLearning Brothers stock photography assets, which we have access to through our enterprise license. Click next, and then we searched, and we found a lot of images on 360 spherical images like the ones you can see here. Next, and then including some others like this. And so doing searches on 360 spherical or 360 panorama will bring up all kinds, the kinds of images that we tapped into. We also click next. We also have Adobe stock license, and there were again next, and there's a lot of stock assets there as well. Let's go to the next screen, Ellen.
Sure.
So we also it's sometimes hard to tell what 360 images look like when you're looking at a thumbnail and it's flattened out, and so we use a tool like this panorama viewer. Click next to just drag an image right into the viewing area, and then we can navigate around and see see what it looks like and decide if it's something that'll work for us. And this is the lobby image that we used. Let's go to the next screen. We also tapped into eLearning Brothers for the cutout people. Next, for the cutout people that we use for the avatar characters. Keep going. In each of the different booths. So yeah, and where we use them for the characters in the booths and also for the background characters that were milling around in the background, which you haven't seen. We also used stock libraries, Adobe Stock and eLearning Brothers for the things like the booth here and some of the other things like next, like the easels and tables and things like that. So let's move on to the next screen. All right, so we knew that SysGroup was going to be reaching out to all the sponsors and exhibitors to get them to supply us with their graphics and videos and texts for their booths. And one of the first things that we did together was define some booth setup options next that the exhibitors could use to customize their own booths. Again, Ellen? And so some of the templates that we set up would let them, really customize them. And for example, having a central poster image or a banner on the left and a logo and other elements like that. So those three screens showed sort of the different configuration options. We also let them provide us with text information that we were going to have available based on a question card. We also gave them the ability to set up booth the tablecloth colors that they wanted, and also to provide us with a video. Hold on for 1 sec there.
Sure.
Yeah, and so we also gave them information about file sizes and resolutions and things like that for the videos that they submitted and all those things. And Ellen, yeah, so move on to the next screen. And Ellen can talk about sort of the communication that we had with exhibitors.
Sure. So it was really helpful. Illumina Interactive had set up a demo that we could use as before testing, or I believe you guys tested it out, and we were using it actually as we walked through each of the booths to show what it would look like. And it just blew the sponsors and the local organizations away with the opportunity to be a part of this. We tried to make it super easy for them, as Michael was saying, where while we gave them options to customize their booths, it was pretty standardized internally for what Michael and the team were putting together. So we collected any of the materials, their preference around configuration and the kinds of coloring they wanted for their tablecloth. And then we also asked them for any text that they wanted to share. And we also, we worked within, internally within our team to share all these files, zipping them up and making sure that we could really communicate with one another internally, keeping track of everything that we had. We had over 30 exhibitors for this experience, so there were a lot of great materials and resources that came through. But we tried to be very, very clear about all deadlines, and if there were some groups that, of course, needed extensions, and Michael and the team were really great at being able to accommodate those little minor changes.
Next slide. Yeah, and you can talk also about the sheet.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, this was a sheet that we all created and to just keep track of everything from each of the organizations, and it just really helped us to stay organized. And they even had the opportunity to select an avatar character that they wanted to represent them, and some of them were so excited to even name them themselves, which is really cool.
So thanks, Ellen. So we'll take a really quick look, behind the under the hood of the program in CenarioVR. So here we have the scenario open to the lobby with the banner graphic and the welcome message, and you can see at the very bottom we start on the timeline with some crowd noise, some crowd background noise, and then about 2 seconds in, we begin the narrator who gives a welcome message in English and Spanish. Next, Ellen. So the navigation elements at the very bottom are all on a fixed layer that's called the menu and navs layer. And by setting everything up on a layer, we can hide all the elements very easily, and we can also cut and paste that whole layer from one scene to another. Click next. Here is the main exhibit hall graphic that we set initially to be invisible, and we only display it when they click on the exhibit hall map button. And we also set this to be as a fixed display, so it always appears centered, and it's a single graphic image. Next, Ellen. All right, we also have another layer you can see here on the left called Map Hotspots that uses transparent rectangular image hotspots for all of the clickable items on the exhibit hall map. And the reason why we made all the map hotspots a layer is just so that we can easily show and hide all the hotspots with a single action. And one thing to point out is since the navigation bar is at the bottom of the screen is set to a fixed display, it's always going to appear at the bottom of the viewing area, which is fine for users who are using, a mouse or a touchscreen tablet. But if they're using a headset that doesn't have pointer controls, like with Google Cardboard, where they're really pointing by focusing the center of their view on the hotspots and buttons, then they won't be able to use these fixed navigation elements at the very bottom of the screen. So we have to make sure that there are, buttons and hotspots throughout the, the other display to allow them to navigate from scene to scene and make other selections, which we did. I'll go to next, Ellen. Mm-hmm. So, and here you can see like the buttons to get to different rooms and to pause and play the audio and click next, Ellen. So a lot of the buttons and hotspots have a lot of actions behind them. So for example, this is just the exhibit hall or the hotspot that should to show the map. So here there are 7 actions that occur when the button is clicked, and click next, Ellen. Mm-hmm. And you can see whenever they click that, we show the map highlights, we show a close map button, we hide this about aware pop-up, we hide the close button, again next, and a bunch of those things. So there can be a lot of actions. In some places we had close to 20 actions on single objects. And so here we're in the little village room, and this is actually what one of the booths look like that unfortunately we weren't able to show you before. And so here we have all the booths that are associated with Syscript's booth. All the elements. We have the avatar, we have ask Syscript questions hotspot that'll open up a question card. We have, stay right there. That sure. Was good. And we have the easels and the table and a logo on the table and things like that. And click next. And you could see here, we've opened up that Syscript booth layer. We put everything on a layer so we can refer to it and copy it and move it from one room to the next if we have to. And so you can see we've actually locked all of the objects here so that they can't be accidentally moved around while we're editing the scene. So, and that's really something that's very important you find out. Because we had multiple booths in each room. So, whenever we want to move around and tweak the positions of objects, we have to unlock them, unlock the layers. Just click next. And
Michael, we have a question. They said, who designed the layout of all the exhibit halls, booths, maps? Do you have a full team designing it, or is it just one person?
No, we had a team. We had a team designing it, a small team for this full time the first application. So I kind of was a creative director, but then we had others doing the graphic design and production and others who were doing the CenarioVR development. And then and each of the and there was some work that was done in Photoshop to composite things like the easels and things like that with the posters that were on them. Thank you. So, okay, moving on. So this is the question card for the Syscript booth. You can see there are 3 questions. Ellen, click next. And there are 8 actions on each of those questions. So if click on next, so for example, for that, tell me more about your organization option, which plays Syscript's video, we have to hide the read poster and the ask the questions button just so that they're not still active behind the video. We have to hide the info card and contact card, which appear on the in space on the left. We have to show the video. Click next, Ellen. And we have to pan over to the video in case it's not centered, and then we show the close button on the video, and we also play the video. So there can be a lot of actions on each item. And so, and you can see that copy actions button in the bottom of the question card here turned out to be a real time saver. There are a lot of those kind of time savers in CenarioVR that really allow you to create clips and copy elements and things from one room to the next. So we created booth masters that we would basically replicate and then just change the color of the backgrounds and change the avatar characters and all those other elements. And click next. There's also a theater that we weren't able to show you, but in the theater we have a menu of 7 different films. They're short MP4 videos. One of them is in Spanish that they and the user can choose them. Why don't you click next, Ellen? And again, and for each of those videos, you can see that each one has 18 actions on it. The reason for that is because in order to play one video, we want to make sure that all the other videos are stopped and hidden, and that the pause and play buttons are also hidden, and so on. So there can be a lot of actions, and fortunately, when you can copy the actions from one object onto another, and then just tweak specific triggers and things like that. It just makes it a lot easier. So let's move on to the next screen.
Michael, we have a question from Erica. It says, so CenarioVR feels similar to a traditional e-learning authoring tool, therefore should be short learning curve for developing the tool. What was your team's experience and what contributed to the short lead time for launch in 5 weeks? How many iterations did you have to go through until the final version launched?
Yeah, so it was very rapid development, as you saw. You know, we developed the whole thing in 5 weeks, and I think you'll when you can see the running application, maybe we'll have a few moments at the end we can actually show it to you. You know, our team does a lot of work with Storyline and with other tools, and so we're certainly very accustomed to all of the different Adobe Creative Cloud and other authoring tools. And I think one of the things that really contributed to allowing this to go really quickly was the need for creating things like templates and knowing what information we needed to get the exhibitors to provide us with, so that we would have everything we received was uniform, and we weren't going to find too much really crazy variation. So it was really organizing. It was setting up like that spreadsheet that Ellen saw to really organize the project. It was timelines and making sure everybody was in sync, and that in terms of iterations, we definitely had a prototype, an alpha, a beta, and then a final, and there were even some sort of interim versions in there where where we added functionality and things like that. Okay, Ellen.
Great. So we received some wonderful and very positive reviews from our Aware Industry Consortium, from the local supporters, but especially from the patients and members of the public that had the opportunity to experience this. A lot of folks were, in their follow-up surveys, mentioned how much they appreciated the opportunity to be able to explore and visit at their own pace, and that this was just such a nice way, because we've been keeping this on the SysRep page indefinitely, an opportunity for them to go and learn a little bit about other organizations and ask them questions. And some of the, I guess just to run through some of the metrics, we had around 350 virtual visitors within the first week of our launch, and we launched this about a week prior to the webinar itself. And then during the webinar, we also promoted for people to go check this out. So we are getting some updated metrics over the next few weeks that we'll be sharing, and we just are so pleased that this number really was well in line with what we typically see for our in-person events. I think we're expecting even more in terms of based off of all the traffic we're trying to drive for this program, but even more for our upcoming programs that will be focusing on other communities over the next few months. We had around, I believe it was 33 different community groups that exhibited in this first program, and we're already well on our way to hitting that 40 exhibitor goal. These are about, I would say 30 is in line with what we see for our in-person programs, but to get 40 exhibitors is really exciting for us. And I think we'll see even more that recognize the value of participating in these programs, to have their resources indefinitely shared on the site and to be part of this very innovative approach. And I know the case study that eLearning Brothers recently produced also had some quotes from some of our sponsors, but a lot of them were just talking about how appreciative they were with how innovative this was, and it just seemed like a great opportunity, an educational opportunity that they're also hoping to try to implement for some of their upcoming events.
I think we have some quotes on the next screen, Ellen.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
So here's some of the quotes that we've received. These are from some of our national sponsors and local supportives, just talking about even hearing the buzz of the room. I mean, Michael and his team even got down to those small details that really make such a difference, where we wanted to have that sense of that community feel and that well-attended hustle bustle experience, and the crowd noises were really helpful for that. And for the number of exhibits as well was just wonderful. And I think a lot of that is a credit to Michael and the team for making this a really accommodating and easy to use kind of platform and format and structure. And it was easy enough for our team to communicate the requirements and specs to all the sponsors to get things in on a really quick time frame.
Great. So yeah, so we're launching 4 more of the Aware virtual exhibit halls between now and the end of the year. We're already busy making enhancements to the program, in part because some of the new features that have been released in CenarioVR just are exactly what we were looking for. For example, we're including exhibitor link, web and email links and attachments, as well as social media links. That became available with the latest update, that when you're using the application in a web browser, you have those features. You obviously don't have that when you're using it with VR headsets. And the other thing that we're working on is integrating live video meetings and chat, so that exhibitors can specify hours when they're going to hold so-called booth hours, and we have a number of the exhibitors that are really interested in this, so that they can specify that, say, from 10 to 12 on certain days during a period of time, they would hold one-on-one and group video chats. And we're testing a variety of tools, from GoToMeeting and Zoom to things like GoTalk2 and Jitsi and Talkie and other browser-based tools that require no plugins. So we're also developing a backend database and reporting system, and tapping into CenarioVR's built-in event logging API, which is really great, so that we can capture data about user visits throughout the rooms and the booths and interactions with all of the booth objects, booth elements, and then provide feedback to the different exhibitors as well as to SysGrip. And that does it. Back to you, Andrew and John. And I don't know if I sent a link to the live site, but I'll leave it to you guys.
Yep. So you guys can view the live site right there on in the chat window of the GoToWebinar control panel. John, I'm going to pass the screen over to you. Is that all right?
Yes, that sounds good.
All right, here it comes.
All right, you should be seeing my screen with CenarioVR.
Yep, I see a stadium.
Okay, that's good. And hopefully I won't have the same lag problem. Although, just a quick aside, I am currently at the office with no one else, because my internet went out completely at my house and I had to come into the office. So I'm sitting in an empty office. What a time to be alive. Yeah, isn't it great? So the link, some people are asking where the link is. It's in the chat window rather than the question window. I could throw it in there. If you look at the chat window, you'll see the links to both the case studies and to the situation itself, the whole thing itself. So I wanted to just quickly touch on one of the new features in CenarioVR, which is 3D models. So a 3D model is a new base object type within CVR, and it really enables a whole new set of functionality that you can use. It uses a new supported file type. That file type is a GLB file. GLB file is it's a single file version of the GLTF, which is the graphics library transmission format. It's just a neutral file format that allows you to have all of the files associated with it in a single file, including textures and animations. So you can treat these things as one file all built together. So it's like any other object within CenarioVR. You can add it by dragging and dropping, from the system. You can click the plus button, and you can add it as a 3D model. You can also add it as a hotspot. Those are all things that can be done within there, and you can interact with it in the same way you interact with other things on the system. So because this object here is set up as a hotspot, I actually have a hover action on it, so it spins when I hover, so you get that good 3D spin when I hover it. So these are things that you can do within there. We also have the media library, which we've added 360 or 3D objects, 3D models inside of there. We have several categories available. So a lot of pre-built categories: animals, food, objects, office supplies. Adding it as simple as hovering over it and either selecting you want to add it as a hotspot or a 3D model. You can click on it, comes in, and then it comes in. You can interact with it. It's now in a 3D space, so I can now, rather than just your standard manipulation, I can manipulate it across 3 different axes. So a very unique way to work with it. Rubber ducky is always my favorite one to work with here, but lots of things that you can do with it. All right, so let's look at a few other things that you can do. You can also have animations built in. So it's another thing that is a part of the 3D object. We can have an animation within the object, in addition to doing the standard things you can do in CenarioVR, which is spinning and growing and things like that. In this case, we have a mask. In this mask, we actually have an animation that gives you an exploded view. We can actually throw the exploded view up, play that animation. It's just an action to play that animation. While it's animating, we can spin and look at it in different areas, and it animates at the same time as it's going in. So you can really get a whole different view of things within the animation space. As well as we have an animation here. This is a 3D model of a office worker, if you will. And we have several different animations built into it. So right now he's actually running what we call an idle animation, which just gives him a little movement because no one stands perfectly still. And you can do things like have him point, right? By just calling out that animation, I can have him wave, go through a walking or a talking animation. These are all animations that you can actually call out directly onto the object itself. You can even stop the animation any type if you want to get it back into a still state or go back into the idle. Idle being another animation that's on there. So lots of things that you can do now with 3D objects within CenarioVR. And let's move on to this. Sadly, this is one of our stock objects is the coronavirus itself. So you can actually put that in there as well and use that as a hotspot and do things on that as well. All right, so being that I do have a little extra time, I want to go ahead and run the site. And so we can actually go in and run the site and see that it does actually run.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I do have good internet here, so we can actually run, and you can see that it is running good. If you want to, Michael, if you want to drive me through a little bit.
Sure.
Something you want to show?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, great. Yeah, so this is the Humboldt Park room, and you can see the Merck booth, and scroll to the right. Yeah, you can see the Susan G. Komen booth, and now keep going. Go to the right now, and we'll see the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation site. So if you click on the Ask JDRF, click on the hotspot there, and clicking on the middle one, B, will play the video that they provided us with.
All right.
Okay, and actually, why don't you go to the exhibit hall map, and let's go to the shed aquarium room in the upper right corner. Okay, and that'll take us. Here we have the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society booth, the Lupus Foundation, and here to the right is EMD Serono's booth. And there, this is an example. If you click on the welcome message question mark, yep, you'll see that they just included a homemade video. So we had a number of those, and then we had some professional videos that they included as well. And then we also click on the, go ahead, Ellen.
I was going to say, do you want to just mention the QR code and why we used it for this iteration?
Yeah. So basically, when we launched this, CenarioVR had not yet come out with the ability to have links and attachments and so on. which they've added as their new web features, browser features. So we added this in. A few of the exhibitors thought of, what if we include the QR code, and that way they, somebody can hold up their phone and, take a photo of it, and they'll go right to their website, or in some cases it goes to a listing of clinical trials, or it opens up an email. So we enabled that for this release as a kind of a stopgap. But we're now going to be, for the future, going to be adding. We have website, email, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube channel links for for the booths.
Thank you.
Okay. And so there was an audience question I noticed. Somebody asked, sorry if I missed this, but I'm assuming that some kind of VR headset is required. And I'll just point out that for this particular audience, our sense is that most of them are going to be working with with computers, tablets, laptops, and smartphone browsers, and most likely not using VR headsets. But the application will function with a VR headset. You just have to use the kind of central screen navigation. Like if you move to the right now, John, we'll see the navigation to move into the Riverwalk room, for example. So that's the kind of functionality. So we have that kind of, all those kind, and so here you can see like the eLearning Brothers cut out characters and as avatars and just milling about in the backgrounds and things like that.
He looks very excited right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And maybe we could just go to the cinema real quick too. That's my favorite room.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, John. That's very reminiscent for me of going to an actual cinema, so this is nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have
Yep.
a choice to stop and play and choose different. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So any other questions? Thanks, John. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought that was kind of important.
Yeah.
Actually see
Yes. And we'll definitely talk about swag. That's definitely an important part of the health fairs we found too. And so some groups provide us with some raffle items. We were using those for the webinar itself. But I love that idea of virtual swag. So we could talk about that for the next iteration.
There's a question that says, did you have any attendees that had difficulty seeing the content, and how did you help them?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that just from on our end. We've been working with some local navigators within the Chicago area, and they've actually been helping almost by phone, just walking through, kind of talking about the different areas. And maybe Michael, you can take it from the technical perspective. Sure. But for us, for individuals that didn't have access to a computer or a mobile phone, we were coordinating opportunities to connect them or share printouts of the resources. Work with them, mail out some of the screenshots. So we still wanted to use this as a helpful resource and make sure that we could answer questions they had about the content. But Michael, did you want to take it from the technical side?
Yeah, there was one technical issue that, John, you actually helped us identify, which had to do with the graphics display driver, which was really the only issue, and it's come up only a couple of times. I don't know if there's anything you remember about that?
Oh, right. Yeah. So there, we had some issues with people whose video cards would actually have trouble running 360. And it was because of a setting within Chrome that didn't allow it had a problem with some of the 3D aspects of the 360 aspects of it. They just had to go off and turn off the optimization, the WebGL optimization, which stopped using their video card on that one.
And once we discovered that and realized what the solution was, we put that up on the site, and that kind of information underneath, and in case you run into trouble, and that kind of solved the problem. Basically, we didn't experience other kinds of questions.
Mm-hmm. And we also made sure to have our contact information very close by in case anybody had specific questions. But I think after we posted that on the site, we didn't get that question anymore.
All right. There's a question that said, Michael mentioned Google Cardboard, and how would this space be engaged via VR headset or using a mobile device within Google Cardboard? So Great question. And so within ScenarioVR, it is a single publish. If you want to use it using Google Cardboard, they can actually just use the browser to go to the website, and the app itself will recognize that it's a VR capable device, and it will put a small headset icon in the bottom of it. If you click on that, it'll go into what they call gaze to select or cardboard mode, and so that's just automatic. We also have native ScenarioVR apps for multiple headsets, so you can use it within the browser on the headset, and you'll be using gaze to select, or you can use the native ScenarioVR app on the headset, and that'll actually utilize the full VR experience. So you use the controllers to select, and you'll get the full 360 experience within the headset. So lots of ways to view it.
Yeah, and it is really an exceptional experience when you're using a headset, because you know everything surrounds you. When you move your head, it responds immediately. If you kind of focus on the buttons that navigate you to other rooms, and then you interact with the exhibit hall, it does feel, I mean, there's a sense of presence there. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
All right.
As far as all of the locations and settings go for the scenes, did you capture all of those yourselves, or were those things purchased?
What do you? Oh, you mean the all the stock images?
The rooms.
Right. So yeah, good question. So all of we use basically stock photography for all of the room environments, the theater environment, the avatar characters, the crowd characters, the booth elements. All of that was royalty-free stock photography through eLearning Brothers stock library and Adobe stock library. And the only things that were produced were things like the video that you can see here that's on the theater screen, or some of the videos that were produced by the different exhibitors and their own posters. But everything else was stock elements, pulled into the application.
Excellent.
We have a question.
Another question for you, John. When it comes to the optimization or turning off the optimization of the graphics card, is there a place online where we can go find those instructions if we run into those in the future?
Yes, I believe it's on our forum. So if you just go to the eLearning Brothers forum or the Trivantis forum and look for it on there as well. Or searching for it. It's really pretty simple to get to if you just go to, it's a Chrome thing. So if you just go to Chrome settings and search for WebGL, you'll find it pretty quick. It's right there.
Okay, excellent. And if I am bringing my own images in, what formats do they need to be in? Does it take SVGs? Does it need to be JPEG or PNG only? What are the options there?
All of those, SVG, PNG, or JPEG.
Fantastic.
I can just add one thing that we discovered. The issue of .dpi was important. We initially started with 72 DPI for most of our images, thinking that would be fine since it's a web. It's just a computer screen. Because of the display in the spherical environment, we found that going with 150 DPI for graphics was just a better quality and made for much more crisper graphics.
Okay, great to note. Great to note. I'm seeing just a couple other questions about the future of ScenarioVR. One person wants to know if we're planning in the future to allow participative VR where you're actually physically accomplishing tasks virtually. And I think we're already doing something similar to that, but it's not to the extent of like these 3D VR games that you can buy for $30 a pop through the Oculus store or something. But any words you want to give on that, John?
Yeah, and actually I wasn't sure if I was going to ask if the question was about ScenarioVR itself or about allowing people within the exhibit hall to do things. Certainly you can build interactive things within ScenarioVR. You can allow people to interact with things, show, hide. You can actually create games and things like that within ScenarioVR just today. But maybe the question I might have been asking if they were considering putting those within the exhibit hall. Have you been thinking of any future update to allow participative type interactions?
Yeah, well, one thing that we've been thinking about is building it into the database, things like having people click on a button that says, please send me something, or that they want to sort of collect things that they'll put in a tote bag. That's one thing that we're looking at. If we were to do something around swag, we could certainly do that. We've looked at potentially having things like a scavenger hunt where you can score points. Really easy to do with CenarioVR by moving around in the rooms and collecting things. So we're definitely looking at all of that.
Right. Excellent. I think, John, there is another expanded question on that. Simulated clinical procedures operations. So I think the difference is that with some of the games and such that you can buy, or one-off sort of VR developments where you can see your hands. I mean, Oculus now has stuff where you don't even need a controller. You can just see your hands and it'll track your hands, and you can pick things up and throw things around in a virtual world. And that level of development, I don't imagine, is something that we can make mass available to an e-learning sort of rapid development audience. But perhaps you have more thoughts on that. Yeah.
So pick and place of 3D objects is something that's coming. So yes, that will be available. Those will be available as properties of an object. So it'll be pick upable and placeable, and you'll have placement stops. So some of that will be able to be done. Will it be super fine motor skill? Probably not super fine. So but it will be. You'll be able to interact and pick up and place and move and look at things in different areas by moving your hand and/or the controller around. Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. We're there. The future is now.
Yeah.
The last question that we'll take before we close out is, can you import GIFs?
No, GIFs are not a supported image type.
Not supported. All right. Thank you again, Ellen and Michael. This has been very, very useful, very helpful. We got a lot of positive feedback here in the questions panel. So you've done some amazing things here, and we appreciate you coming and joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for visiting, and we'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.